Remember when school bells weren't just digital sounds, but real iron clangs echoing down long linoleum hallways? When chalk dust floated through the air like snow, and teachers wore horn-rimmed glasses with clipboard in hand? For Gen X kids, growing up meant learning the alphabet and the rules, some of which would leave today's kids scratching their heads. Today, we're flipping open a yearbook and looking back at 10 old-school rules Gen X kids had to follow. Rules that shaped classrooms before smartphones, smartboards, or even seatbelts on school buses. 1. Dress codes meant business. Before casual Fridays or casual anything, students followed a strict dress code. Boys had to wear belts, tucked-in shirts, and no long hair past the collar. Girls, no pants, just dresses or skirts, usually below the knee. It wasn't just about appearance. It was about discipline and respectability. Over time, as culture shifted in the 70s and 80s, these rules loosened up, especially after the rise of student rights movements. 2. Cursive or else. Learning cursive wasn't optional. It was a rite of passage. You'd sit for hours tracing loops and tails, under the stern eye of a teacher who cared deeply about proper penmanship. Neat handwriting was seen as a sign of intelligence and good upbringing. Messy writing? That could cost you points, even on math tests. Computers may have made it obsolete, but for Gen Zers, that cursive Z still brings back sweaty palms. 3. Sit down, stay quiet, hands folded. Classroom behavior was all about structure. You entered in a single file line, sat straight, and didn't speak unless spoken to. Respect your elders wasn't just said at home, it ruled the classroom. Teachers were figures of absolute authority, and talking back? That could land you a trip to principal, or worse, a phone call home. It's a far cry from today's more open and flexible classroom environments. 4. Lining up for everything. Gen X kids remember the drill. Line up for lunch, line up for recess, line up for the bathroom. Teachers loved orderly lines. It was all about control. You weren't just waiting your turn. You were practicing discipline. And heaven helped the kid who cut in line. Instant classroom scandal. This rule faded as schools became more casual and focused on individual freedoms. 5. Corporal punishment was real. Yes, it really happened. In many schools, paddling was part of the discipline plan. A wooden paddle hung behind the teacher's desk, and the threat alone kept most kids in check. It was legal and common in public schools until the 80s in many states. Eventually, public sentiment shifted, and lawsuits followed, leading most schools to ban the practice. 6. No left-handed writing allowed. Believe it or not, some Gen X kids were scolded or even forced to switch hands if they wrote left-handed. Being lefty was once considered improper or even rebellious. Teachers would tie your left hand or make you rewrite everything with your right. By the late 70s, these practices were largely gone. But for early Gen Zers, it was a quiet battle fought at their desks. 7. The pledge was mandatory. Every morning, rain or shine, hand over heart, eyes on the flag. Reciting the Pledge of Allegiance was non-negotiable. Some schools even played patriotic music as a backdrop. The practice began during World War II and stuck around for decades. While still common today, it's no longer required everywhere, and students can now opt out, something unheard of back then. 8. No talking during lunch. Lunch was allowed unless you got caught. Many schools had a no talking rule in the cafeteria, at least during the first 10 minutes. It was supposed to encourage mindful eating. Monitors paced between tables like hallway guards, shushing any kid who dared giggle. The rules slowly faded as people realized that lunchtime was also a social learning moment. 9. Gym class meant uniforms and showers. PE was serious business. You had to wear your school-issued gym uniform, usually itchy polyester shorts and a shirt with your last name in block letters. After class, you showered with your classmates. No stalls, no privacy. It was awkward, but builds character was a common phrase. By the late 80s, the practice faded as schools became more sensitive to student comfort. 10. No gum, no talking, no exceptions. There were 3 things sure to get you detention: chewing gum, passing notes, or talking during class. Teachers were on the lookout like hawks. Chewed gum under desks was the enemy, and note passing was seen as subversive. Now we text under the table, but back then, it was a silent war between you and the teacher's gaze. So many of these rules might seem strange today, but they were just part of the world Gen X kids grew up in. They taught discipline, sure, but also gave us stories to tell, laughs to share, and maybe even a little appreciation for how far we've come. If any of these brought back a memory, let us know in the comments. What old school rule did you have to follow? And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this trip down memory lane. Until next time, class dismissed.